We are the Fantastic Five, and this is our paper slides presentation. We had Romanticism versus Postcolonial Literature. What is Romanticism? Romanticism was a movement in literature and the arts that emphasized emotion, importance of nature, and the celebration of imagination. Romanticism values feelings and emotional connection over intellect and order. It emphasizes inspiration, subjectivity, and the primacy of the individual. The origin of Romanticism. Romanticism in English literature came to be in the late 18th century in Europe. It occurred throughout Western civilization, starting in the 18th century through mid-19th century. Romanticism is often seen as a reaction against the Enlightenment and the rationalism of that era. In the aftermath of the French Revolution of 1789, order and balance were tossed aside, and with that came the end to the Enlightenment. People were tired of using reason and knowledge for every action they made, so they started to focus more on their emotions and imagination.
Romanticism wouldn't be what it is without works from notable poets such as William Blake, who's known for poems like A Sick Rose and A Poison Tree, William Wordsworth, who's known for I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud and The Solitary Reaper, and also Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who's known for Frost at Midnight and Dejection, an ode. Romanticism, places of importance. Romanticism originated in Europe, but spread throughout the world as it became more popular. For example, South America. In Spanish-speaking South America, Romanticism was influenced by Esteban Echeverria. His writings were most popular during the 1830s and 1840s, and they were influenced by his hatred for the current Argentine dictator, so they featured many themes of blood and terror. There was a second period of Romanticism in South America, known as Ultra-Romanticism. That's marked by profound influence of European themes and traditions involving melancholy, sadness, and despair related to love. Romanticism was also seen as important in the United States, where Romantic poetry started being published by 1818 with William Cullen Bryant's To a Waterfowl. A little later in 1820 is when American Roman Gothic literature made an appearance. The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne is the most popular novel that influenced Romanticism in the U.S. Big themes of Romanticism. There are 4 major themes of Romanticism, which are emotion, imagination, nature, and social class. There are also 5 main characteristics that make up Romanticism, including interest in the common man and childhood, strong senses or emotions and feelings, awe of nature, celebration of the individual, and importance of imagination.
An in-depth look at the 2 most important themes. The first is nature. Nature plays quite a large role in Romanticism and the era's literature. Nature is a powerful symbol because it is the opposite of rational or orderly. Even so, nature was still seen as pure and uncorrupted and was soon used to represent a life without society. The second is emotion. Emotion is a key characteristic in all writing during this time period. During this time, sorrow, love, joy, loneliness, and numerous other emotions were the focus of literature. It was important that emotion was emphasized over reason because it made the text more relatable. Influences of Romanticism. Romanticism influenced political ideology, inviting engagement with the cause of the poor and oppressed and with ideals of social emancipation and progress. In promoting the imagination over reason, the Romantics encouraged individuals to experiment boldly and to question things instead of blindly accepting them. Romanticism today. Romanticism can be seen today in the conservatism, traditional attitudes of certain people against progressivism, globalization, or multiculturalism. It has an emphasis on emotions or feelings rather than intellect. Romanticism has an idealistic and individual worldview optic that can still be seen throughout the world today.
What is postcolonial literature? Postcolonial literature refers to the literary works of those residing in previously colonized nations colonized by the European troops. The literature was frequently composed as a reflection on the effects of colonialism. Often a celebratory tone in regards to countries' culture placed a strong emphasis on the unity and empowerment of individual nations as they reclaim their independence. Origin of postcolonial literature. Postcolonial literature was most popularly published from the 1950s to the 1990s following the colonial era. This era, also known as colonialism, was the spread of imperialism by European nations throughout the rest of the world beginning in the 15th century. For many centuries, Europe was the most developed continent, compiled with very strong nations in regards to money, knowledge, and military forces. The Europeans forced their superiority by demeaning other cultures for uncontrollable attributes such as race, gender, culture, and language as a way to obtain glory and gold. The post-colonial literature began with notable poets such as Derek Walcott, Camus Braithwaite, Toni Morrison, and Aimé Césaire, to name a few. Places of importance for post-colonial literature. A majority of the continents, excluding Antarctica, experienced colonization by European troops during the spread of imperialism. However, post-colonial literature is frequently specified to the African, Asian, and South American territories who gained their independence during the 19th and 20th centuries. In Africa, Amadou Hapate Ba and Ai Kui Arma, the authors of 2000 Seasons, enforced the reestablishment of culture and identity following acts of subaltern. In the Middle East, the Palestine scholar Edward Said composed The Orientalism in 1978, which examines the East's upbringing of political, cultural, and economical viewpoints. The book is arguably the initiation of post-colonial literature as it challenges ideologies and the effects of colonialism. In Asia, many writers in Asian territories evaluated the inferior and superior social statuses in terms of racialism. However, Bonnie Hicks, a writer from Singapore, exposed the harsh reality of sexualism in the fashion industry with her novel, Excuse Me, Are You a Model? Outside of the majority of literature focusing on racialism at the time, Hicks brought awareness to a topic of self-identity and cultural unity following colonialism. Big themes of post-colonial literature. Themes of post-colonial literature address both the difficulties and aftermath of a country's decolonization. Themes include racialism, cultural dominance, inequality, and finding oneself after the domination of European nations for centuries.
The post-colonial literature is influenced by the surrounding society and cultural theory. It also changed the concept and ideas as identity, nation, cultural dialogue, and cultural boundaries. Today, the post-colonial literature is not as common as it used to be. This is because it focuses on the aftermath of colonialization. As the last colonialization took place in the 20th century, it has been some time since new post-colonial literature has come to the light. Some of the similarities between the Romanticism and the post-colonial is they both have the themes of classism, and they both typically have celebratory tone that appreciate different aspects of the literature. The Romanticism celebrates and appreciates the nation and emotions. The post-colonial literature celebrates individual cultures from specific countries, and they both value the importance of the individual. The differences. So the Romanticism is very emotional, and it is almost a raw feeling. It deals with imagination nature and is very emotion. The post-colonial literature is like fact. It is from the facts, and it deals with the topics like politics and culture.
Thank you for watching the Fantastic Five's presentation on Romanticism versus Postcolonial Literature. All that's left is our works cited. Have a great day.